don't waste any more time. So, hello everybody. We're getting ready to get started. Today, we're not going to do introductions of everybody because there are quite a few people on, and other people are going to be joining us. So, we're going to start right on time. So, my name is Laone Bugamuhulela, as you all know. And then sharing my screen as well, so that you can see what we are doing and the PowerPoint. So Jifa, there's no reason for you to share your screen. So
okay, all right.
yeah, I mean, because otherwise it's gonna get complicated because we didn't get
Okay.
test. Yeah, but we're gonna unmute.
No worries.
No, cool. So we're gonna unmute everybody during the course of the session, especially when we're asking questions, so that you can ask questions. But feel free to also put your questions in the chat box, because we want this to be as interactive as possible. So again, my name is Laone Bugamuhulela. I'm the YALDA US president and also one of the co-founders of YALDA. Jifa, you can introduce yourself. This is my co-presenter.
Hi, my name is Jifa Ajay Bawanya, and I'm also a co-founder of YALDA, and I'm the YALDA US Research Coordinator.
Thank you, Jifa. So we're going to get started right away.
The Africa I want, one that is free of corruption and its leaders are accountable to the people.
I want an Africa that is in charge of its own development. My vision for Africa is that the females are empowered to reduce gender violence, the youth are empowered to reduce unemployment.
Desire to see an Africa where education is available for every child.
I'd like to see an Africa where there's an improved infrastructure across board.
My vision for Africa is to see an Africa developing based on a foundation of ethical and strong leadership.
I envision an Africa where young people can dream, where young people dream big, and they see those dreams turning into a reality.
I want an Africa where we give the best we have to offer and all of us stand together as one.
I see Africa without poverty. I see Africa with no unemployment. I see everybody having a good, sustainable income, and that's my dream. I'm not sleeping anymore, and I'm awake for that.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag.
Over to you, Jifa.
Okay. All right. I just saw that a couple of people in the chat messages said that they couldn't hear. Can everybody hear? Okay. All right, so thanks for joining us. And so today we want to focus on introducing all of you to YALDA and how to start a branch. And for most of you, I'm assuming most of you are familiar with us. So YALDA, the Youth Alliance for Leadership and Development in Africa. And I guess our slogan is Youth Envision, Professionals Assist, and Africa is Transformed. So I want to start kind of describing what YALDA is and who we are. And first and foremost, YALDA is a network. So I think, as you can see in the first bullet point, the key word there is network. And the networking part, I think, is an integral part of what YALDA is. And so YALDA, we essentially capitalize on the power of connections to make positive change in Africa. So through networking, African youth can make positive impact on the African continent. And I think sometimes networking is often overlooked. People always want to focus on activities and projects, but the network is the main asset of what YALDA is and what YALDA is centered on. And secondly, YALDA is a platform. So it's a platform for ground level youth-based solutions. So that just means that YALDA essentially provides an opportunity for youth to enact their solutions. So YALDA helps to facilitate youth solutions for the problems facing their communities. And we do that through our kind of global or our international network, which is centered mostly on the African continent, but we also have branches in the diaspora. And we raise awareness, so we foster advocacy. We also focus on collaborations between YALDA members and between professionals. And we provide mentorship and guidance to youth in terms of being able to realize their goals. And lastly, YALDA is Africa branded. It's by Africans and for Africans. That's also one thing that we like to say at YALDA. So essentially, YALDA is driven internally by Africans, and we wanted to make that an important component of YALDA rather than being driven by the outside. We believe that Africans know what's best for themselves and have a vested interest in themselves and the communities. So if we focus on enhancing the capacity of Africans themselves to come up with the solutions that they think are the most fitting, we think that that will lead to success and development on the continent. So next slide. So YALDA is headquartered, the international headquarters for YALDA is in Botswana in Gaborone. And so that is the seat of the YALDA International. However, we have a number of branches across the continent, and we're actually registered in a number of these countries. So as you can see here, we are registered as an NGO in Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and Uganda. In addition to that, YALDA holds a unique position as the only African youth organization registered with the United Nations Economic and Social Council, or ECOSOC. And in the United States, YALDA is also classified as a 501c3, which means that we are a tax-exempt nonprofit organization. Okay, so now I want to, that's kind of a brief overview of our current situation. And now I want to kind of take a step back and start from the beginning and how YALDA came into existence. So YALDA has its origins on Harvard College campus, and it's been around for over 14 years now. So it emerged kind of as an outgrowth of the Harvard African Students Association, or HASA. And HASA was founded in 1997 and by Africans at Harvard College, with a focus on trying to bring awareness to African issues, trying to unite the African community, introduce African issues and African culture to the larger Harvard community. And so that was kind of the backdrop for which YALDA was emerged from. So in 2003, there was a HASA meeting that was focused on the brain drain in Africa. And this was a very well-attended meeting. I actually missed that meeting, but Launi was there and other co-founders were there as well. And so I know that it was a very intense meeting. People were trying to figure out are we contributing to the problem of the brain drain, where talented Africans are leaving the continent, going abroad, using their skills abroad, and not necessarily applying them to help their own people back home. And so from those concerns about the brain drain and what to do about it and how to prevent it or fix the solution or find a solution to that, Leonid wanted to spearhead a new initiative that kind of would try to mitigate the effects of the brain drain and see how we could help Africans be successful and create positive change on the continent rather than necessarily seeking success outside. So I and a handful of other Harvard students applied to be part of this group's formation. And it started out as FALA, or the Future African Leaders Alliance. So in 2004, early 2004, the FALA was formed. And one of our first kind of tasks was to come up with an appropriate name, because we felt that FALA might not be adequate enough. We knew that we wanted to involve the idea of leadership, and we knew that it was an alliance of Africans, but we were considering what types of names would truly represent what we wanted the organization to be. So we considered a lot of alternatives. We thought about YALDA came into mind, whether it should be the Student Alliance for Leadership and Development in Africa. We figured we wanted to include development in there as well. So after a lot of deliberation, we finally settled on the name YALDA, or Youth Alliance for Leadership and Development in Africa, which was one of the ideas that I had come up with, and everyone kind of agreed that that would be an appropriate name. So later that year, we changed the name to YALDA. We worked on developing our constitution, which also took a lot of time and discussion. And we were very deliberate about everything that we were trying to come up with, whether it was a vision statement. We would go through it word for word and make sure we were choosing all the right words that we felt were what we wanted YALDA to stand for. So now we have branches, as you see here, not only at Harvard University, we have some in the University of Botswana, at Oxford, in Kenya, in Ghana. Pretty much, I think we're now located in 14 countries, I believe. So, and we cover all regions of the continent. Okay, so moving on. So surprisingly, after we came up with the name, we later found out that there was more to the term YALDA than just Youth Alliance for Leadership and Development in Africa. And so we found out that YALDA actually is the name of an Iranian celebration to mark the winter solstice, or so that in the northern hemisphere, the winter solstice usually occurs in late December, and that's the day that pretty much considered the shortest day of the year. So that's the day that the sun is out for the shortest amount of time, and then after that, all the days get longer and longer. And so the word YALDA came from the Syriac language, and it meant the birth of Mithra, which is the ancient sun god. So the sun god is a symbol of light. So so we thought this was also very fitting, because contrary to what we might hear everyone describing Africa as kind of the heart of darkness, we felt that Africa is a place of light, and through YALDA, we can contribute to that light and the rebirth of the African continent. So that's kind of why you see in our logo, there's the sun rising over Africa. I think all of those kind of tying in the other meanings of YALDA to what we stand for, I think is very appropriate and was a fortunate coincidence. Okay. So on the next slide, you'll see our official vision and mission statement. And it kind of echoes what I discussed previously, but I'll read it for you. So the vision of YALDA. So YALDA envisions an international network of inspired, empowered, and proactive young African leaders who hold influential decision-making positions, are running their own organizations or companies, culminating in a prosperous and developed African continent. So again, you see the centrality of the network for YALDA. And then our mission is YALDA provides a forum for youth on the African continent and those abroad with a commitment to the welfare of Africa. And by networking with professionals, mentors, and each other, members will increase capacity to take on positive leadership roles in their universities, countries, and on the continent. Through YALDA, members will implement their short and long-term visions for Africa. And as you see, the kind of key terms and phrases are bolded here in the mission statement. The fact that YALDA is a forum, the focus on networking, and the focus on implementing individuals' visions for Africa. So then on the next slide, this talks about what YALDA's kind of, how YALDA accomplishes what it seeks to do. So YALDA is a champion for the youth agenda. So first, we foster communication and productive collaboration between African students, youth, and leading professionals. So collaboration is key to our mission. And there's a claim that there's an African proverb. When I hear people say African proverb, I usually tend to wonder, well, where in Africa is it coming from? But I'm sure you might have heard it because it's quite popular. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And so I think that kind of highlights the importance of collaboration. And I think that kind of is the wisdom that YALDA believes in. If you do want to go far, and if Africa wants to go far, we need to collaborate. So that's one key aspect. And then secondly, we raise awareness of the critical need for youth participation in the African Development Project. So awareness raising and advocacy for youth involvement is another important activity of YALDA, and we want to make sure that youth are given a seat at the table when it comes to decision making for the continent, because we believe the youth have a lot of important ideas and their voices do deserve to be heard. And thirdly, we nurture leadership capabilities and technical skills amongst African youth. So we focus a lot on skill building and capacity building, because we believe through that, YALDA members can develop the tools for success. And lastly, we integrate, operationalize, and resource visions to build new sectors and industries in Africa. So here we're focused on how do we make our dreams become a reality? So how can we kind of operationalize these visions to actually implement them? And so, next slide, please. So here you'll see the list of our core values. And so I'll kind of describe each of them. So on the left side, you see the words compassion, ambition, proactivity, and integrity. And so we believe that YALDA members should be compassionate. So we believe that they should have a deep, heartfelt concern for the development of the continent and its people. So we believe that compassion, concern for Africa, kindness is essential. And additionally, we want members to be ambitious. They need to have a strong desire to achieve the development in Africa and be willing to work diligently to realize the YALDA vision. So having a drive is a key component of being part of YALDA. And we think that most youth who are drawn to YALDA do have this drive. Then proactivity, we want our members to be proactive. They need to be able to take initiative. So they should be able to anticipate and address issues and challenges that they may encounter while striving to achieve the goals and objectives of YALDA. And then also integrity is another core value. So members need to be able to promote sound moral and ethical principles that will uphold the YALDA vision. So honesty and ethics are key to the work that YALDA does, and it's a core value of ours. And then the additional core values are commitment, professionalism, solidarity, and excellence. So commitment, members will engage and commit to activities that will attract youth in the continent to embrace the YALDA vision. So dedication is important here, being dedicated to YALDA's vision. Professionalism, members will employ exceptional working standards, also maintaining desirable African norms and cultures while implementing the stated goals and objectives of YALDA. And solidarity, members will continue to nurture their alliances and networks to accomplish the YALDA vision. So again, the focus on networks and trying to bring unity across all of YALDA branches. So we are not kind of an exclusive group. We want to unite Africans and those with an interest in the betterment of Africa. And then lastly, excellence. Members will ensure that they attain distinction and maintain exceptional quality performance in all their activities and initiatives. So we strive for excellence in all that we do. We think quality is very important. Okay, and now I'm going to hand it over to Laone to continue with the rest of the presentation.
Before I start, does anybody have any questions for Jifa? If you have questions, please either write them in the chat box or put up your hand. There's a thing where you can put up your hand, or you can just try and speak. I'm going to unmute, and then I'll mute everybody afterwards. But if you have any questions for Jifa, please speak now. Put up your hand so I can pick you. You can also put the questions in the chat box. Oyibi, do you have any questions for Jifa?
No.
Yes. I can hardly hear you. Anybody? Because you know how we like this to be interactive.
Mm-hmm.
So we really would appreciate your questions. No? You can put up your hand if there's a little thing. All right, okay, so I'm gonna get started now on how do we start a branch. So I'm gonna mute everybody now so there's not a lot of background noise. So except for Jifa. So again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. So how do you start a YALDA branch? Now, some of you already are, you've got very well established branches and you are on top of your game and everything. And the reasons why we said you must come to this training is that you are also going to be helping us start branches. So this is kind of a training where it's also training of the trainers, as well as it is for people who are interested in starting their own branches. So as we go along, if you have any questions, any suggestions, please participate, because it's very boring when people are going through this video or this presentation, all they can hear is my voice or Jifa's voice. So we appreciate contributions, and we also appreciate questions. So I am going to get started with just kind of going again back a little bit to why we are important. Before, when you're thinking about starting a branch or working with people who are starting a branch, we have to think about why is it that YALDA is important. And it's going back to some of the things that Jifa has said already, that YALDA, we noticed when we formed it that, young people on the African continent, unlike any other continent in the world, have very limited resources, whether it's information, guidance, human capital, and even this thing that we haven't written here is actually financial capital as well, in order to start our endeavors or initiatives. Also, we very well know, because we're young Africans, that young Africans are also economically and politically disenfranchised. And then a third very important point is that by connecting young Africans with professionals, mentors, and peers, YALDA aims to develop leadership capabilities of Africans as change agents, because we continuously feel we lack role models, or people disappoint us, or our role models or leaders that we are banking on continuously disappoint us. But we believe that's not the end of the story, There are people out there doing phenomenal things. They may not be in the media or in the limelight, but they can act as real mentors and guidance, or act as guides for us as young people on the African continent. And YALDA makes it one of our real missions to go and identify these people and have them be our mentors, or what we call professional affiliates. And again, we will build an international network of empowered young leaders who are decision makers, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, community organizers, and active citizens of African economies, societies, and polities. I think why we keep repeating some of these things is that we really believe that we have to continuously drill it in everybody why YALDA is there and why YALDA exists. So this is just a review again. So now when you're thinking of starting the YALDA branch or being part of the network, one important consideration is to understand that YALDA is a heavily decentralized organization. And what does that mean? For us, this means that we have a board of advisors. These are people who are doing exceptionally well in their careers, whatever those careers are on the African continent. And they can be Africans, or they are Africans mainly, and some are internationals who have an interest in Africa. Then we have the International Executive Committee, and from there we've got committees and general membership. And committees, general membership, this is all under what we would call the branches. So now, how does YALDA operate? So how we work. So you can see here that the core of the YALDA organization is the youth members. So our members are the lifeblood of the organization. And so what we want is that we want to, the first point of the network, or what we're doing, is that we're linking youth and university students on the continent and internationally with each other. So this is very key and very important, because what we have found a lot of times on the African continent as we are traveling and as we established the YALDA organization is that we wanted to connect. We were in the US and we wanted to connect with Africans on the African continent. And we realized that actually Africans on the African continent do not connect with each other. We are so focused on our own countries or our own communities that we forget that there's a huge African continent out there. And we know that the development of the African continent cannot happen in isolation. So we in Botswana can't hope that we'll make Botswana successful and forget about our neighbors like Zimbabwe, etc. Because whatever happens in that country is going to affect us. And some of us, we've got really huge economies, like the South Africans on this call and the Nigerians. And sometimes we also forget with the huge economies that, well, we don't need anybody else on the African continent. And that is not true, because we all need to learn from each other. And, you know, like what Jifa had said, the African proverb of you go alone, you go. I mean, Jifa, can you repeat that African proverb again? Because I think it is so powerful and I won't do it justice.
Okay, so it says if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
And that is what we need to think about on the African continent. So another way that we work is by linking young people with leading professionals, like I've told you before. We do this because we want young people to get practical ideas and advice on their projects and careers that they want to pursue. We want to use this network, and some of you, you know how powerful these networks can be, because in Botswana, you just had a YALDA Gala dinner for fundraising, or when you're doing YALDA conferences and you're trying to get speakers. These professional affiliates, they're going to help us with referral. If they can't speak at the conference or they can't buy a table for the gala dinner for fundraising, when we ask them, refer me to somebody else, and this can expand your network so quickly. We have this link, so we develop friendly relationships and role models with these professional affiliates. And not only that, but these professional affiliates are helpful, in fact, because they give us job opportunities, internships, and leads for funding for our own projects, etc. So very, very powerful. And lastly, very important, and some of you YALDA people, I know you ignore this, but it's the fundamental lifeblood again of the organization, is that we are a networking organization. So we expect YALDA members, and we help young YALDA members to link up with professional and youth-run organization and a wide array of youth-run projects on the African continent. For example, we work with organizations like JCI, we work with organizations like ISEC, we work with other organizations like UNECA, United Economic Commission on Africa, the African Development Bank. We work with UN ECOSOC, like Jifa mentioned. We have a great partnership and relationship with YALI, the Young African Leaders Initiative that President Barack Obama started. And why is it that we stress this? It's because no man is an island. No man is an island. YALDA is not there for it to just be YALDA. YALDA is there for us to connect with other organizations so we can benefit in every single way that we can as members. So again, just to summarize, YALDA works by connecting young people in Africa to an international network of professionals with a strong interest in the development of the continent, by providing a forum in which African students can connect with their peers. And we encourage tolerance of differences and productive collaboration across racial, cultural, national boundaries, the lack of which continues to stifle development by facilitating. So we facilitate cultural and intellectual exchange between young people from a variety of backgrounds. We offer career development assistance through the YALDA professional mentors and advisors, as well as information on internships and job opportunities. Learning, we help with young people, our youth members, learn about the short and long-term visions of youth in Africa and the initiatives that they are undertaking to actualize those goals. And we generate the person power to implement these initiatives on the continent and give youth the opportunity to learn about and work on initiatives in African countries other than their own. And lastly, by inviting members to attend the YALDA International Boot Camp and conferences, where we can meet other youth and who share similar interests, as well as meet professionals who will advise and support our initiatives. Now, let's just look at the benefits here of why you should start a YALDA branch. I mean, if those benefits that I just stated, they didn't make your skin tingle and didn't get you excited, let me try again. So here we go. So, why should you start a YALDA branch? The first thing I'm going to talk about, and you saw that slide, I just showed you the brief there. But if you're doing a YALDA branch at university, and mind you that you can start a YALDA branch at university, or you can start a branch as a whole country, for example, but it's links with other university. We are doing it right here. For the first time at your university, you will establish enduring connections with university students on the country and on the continent and abroad who have a serious commitment to the welfare of Africa. And by starting a YALDA branch at a university, it's so critical because at the universities you have professors, and professors are amazing because they have contacts and links, and they can introduce you to people, important people and professionals who are working in Africa for the African development. And that way, you will be able to introduce YALDA to these people and hopefully stir their interest and have them to join the network. So that's why we stress that universities are a key platform for YALDA. And that's why we stress that YALDA starts at universities before it branches out into country branches or a country branch. But it's fine. You can also start a YALDA branch as a country and then infiltrate university. The other exciting thing about YALDA is that you get to work with government on youth issues. We are one of the most recognized youth organization in terms of working with governments and policymakers, international policymakers. Right now, we've been, UNECA, the United Nations Economic Commission on Africa, called us to do a project for them. And some of you who are working on the project are here, so you can talk a little bit more about what you've been doing so that I can stop talking for a minute. And some of you who also attended the African Development Bank meetings, I would like you to also talk about them as well, because YALDA gets called to come and work with policymakers and help them research on things that young people need in the countries and also to give advice. So we've been doing this in our own countries on the international level with the United Nations Economic Commission on Africa and the African Development Bank, and also Voice of Africa's Future. So I will ask some people who have been doing this work to now speak so that we can hear what work have you been doing. Helda, I would like you to talk a little bit about the research you've been doing as YALDA Angola for the UNECA project. Please, the mic is, I've handed the mic over to you. Helda? Or anybody in Angola?
Okay.
Yes, please. Can you talk about the work that you've been doing? Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Firstly,
please,
I'm grateful to attend.
Please
Sorry?
introduce yourself, your name and the country where you're in, and then present on the work you've been doing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Elder Afonso. I'm from Angola, and I'm currently working on the project from United Economic Commission about youth policy. That project was good. We are still waiting for the results. You know, yeah, we are waiting for that.
What exactly?
I'm so sorry. My English is not good. Yeah, I'm trying to.
No
Okay,
problem.
yeah.
No problem. We know you're a Portuguese speaker, but can you tell us of the two policies or best programs that you documented?
Okay, we were documented the project about youth entrepreneurship, and we shared a project about Pro Jovem. Is a project in Angola. Is a credit line project to finance youth entrepreneurship in Angola. So other project, it was My Taxi. Our government offer our youth cars, okay, cars to make a tax. Yeah, that's project I shared with you.
Do they get the taxis for free?
The taxi is not free. They receive the car and they use the car by taxi. You know, it is if you have a driving license, you can looking for a taxi in the government. They can give you the tax and you by yourself doing the tax.
Okay, so you operate it and drive it. Okay, thank you so much, Helda. Thandi, can you talk about the work that you've been doing with Voice of Africa's Youth, so that you can share with the people on the call? I'm gonna unmute you. I don't know which one you're on, but I'm trying to unmute you. Yes, Thandi, we're waiting for you. Can you talk about your initiative? How the hell? You're not unmuting. Mute. Send unmute. Thandi, I think you should unmute yourself and talk. Okay. Okay, she's offline. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I see that. Let me see. Felix. Let's see if Felix is online. Felix, yes. Can you please talk about the meetings with the African Development Bank. What were those about and what were you doing?
Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Everybody's on mute because of the background noise.
Okay, I'm called Sidwan Felix Leji. I'm from Cameroon in YALDA Pedwa. And in February 2017, we had a really nice conference with the African Development Bank, where we actually designed how the bank could design strategies which are going to help employ close to 10 million or 10 billion youths on the continent. It's true we would have loved a lot of young people to be part of the conference, but we are working on that. I trust the African Development Bank is working on that. And we actually the conference brought together a lot of young leaders from all over Cameroon. And today we are working together to see how we can identify the various challenges which Cameroon is facing. I mean, you all can know about the actual crisis we have in the English part of the country. And thanks to that conference, we are working on that, seeing how we can make government take some action. So thanks to that conference and the leverage which YALDA gives us, we were able to meet with different young leaders from all over Cameroon. And I trust the African Development Bank is working on how it can actually implement all it promised, because they are developing strategies on how they can reduce the rate of unemployment on the African continent, and a lot of other opportunities which we have been receiving, like this conference, which was brought to us by YALDA.
Lovely, thank you, Felix. Thank you so much. I've got two more presenters. Sept, can you please present about UNECA project, the same one YALDA talked about, but the UNECA project in Botswana, and then Tandy will talk about VAF in Botswana as well. Okay. Sept, the floor is yours.
Okay, hi guys. Sorry I'm late. Unfortunately, I had to come from a family function, but I'll go straight to the point. So we were.
Who are you, Sept? Who are you and where are you? Thank you.
Okay. My name is Sept Mohozia. I'm from Botswana. I'm working as the operations manager here in Botswana. I graduated as an electrical engineer from Australia in 2009. I've worked for Botswana, which is a subsidiary of De Beers, and I've also worked for the government. And currently I'm in the private sector, trying a few projects, which if you're interested to know, you can always email me and I can let you know. Yeah. So I can start, right, Lani?
Yes, please.
Hello?
Please talk about UNECA project first and VAF.
Okay. So the UNECA project was a grant that we got for 10,000 pula to develop a toolkit, sort of like a portal where different countries in Africa can be able to go onto this portal and see youth initiatives that are being currently implemented on the continent, and hopefully have this cross-pollination or synergies where people can see some of the advantages and disadvantages of some of the systems, and also see if perhaps they can benchmark and use some of those skills. So the countries that I was involved in and the ones that we covered were Botswana, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Those are the three countries that we covered. Our teacher was a lady called Ruth. She did very well. I think we managed to cover some great areas. We're really quite excited about some of the findings that we got from Zambia and Zimbabwe. In Botswana, we had a few slight challenges, but we finally managed to come up with some of the findings. Some of the findings that we found is that in most countries there is youth policies which are currently there to assist youth, but it is not very clear on the effectiveness of these grants. Like in Botswana here, we have what we call the Youth Development Fund, which has been there for many years. But when you try to ask them, out of the many companies or individuals that you have actually funded? What is the rate of companies? A company is really a company after 5 years. That's a benchmark that I've heard used a lot. Your first 5 years, you're just learning. After 5 years, you can call yourself a company. And you're looking at less than 10% of companies in Botswana ever since they started surviving. Those are including the other people who are outside the youth grant, so outside the youth bracket. So now you can imagine how difficult it is for youth companies. Some of them closed out after 1 month, some of them closed out to 3 months. But because of the politics, sometimes it's hard to get statistics. But I think overall it was quite a successful project. Ruth will be in Addis, I think in October last week. I'm not quite sure about the dates. And she will be presenting all the findings that we have from these 3 branches. And then VAF, Voice Africa.
I think Tandiwe just said she's back online, so I'm gonna see if she can talk.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Not, then you can take over. Tandy, please unmute yourself and talk about VAF. Introduce yourself and talk about VAF. Thank you.
Okay. Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Tandiwe. I work as the Advocacy Director for YALDA Botswana. And we've been doing VAF, which stands for Voice Africa's Future, in collaboration with an organization called African Monitor. And what we've been doing with it is that we've been hosting, like sensitizing people on what the SDGs are in Botswana, letting them know what they are. And at the same time, we've been collecting data to see how far Botswana's done in terms of implementing the SDGs in Botswana. So we would host like citizen hearings for people and for young people in particular. And at the same time, that's where we get to discuss with them, conduct focused discussion groups, and find out from their perspective how far Botswana is, or how well Botswana has been doing in implementing the SDGs. And that's what VAF is about. This is done in Botswana and I think 10 other countries. So in Botswana, they partnered with YALDA to carry out this Voice Africa's Future project.
Thank you, Tandy. Does anybody have any questions for Helda, for Felix? Helda talked about the UNECA project, so did Tsepo. Felix talked about our work with the African Development Bank, and Tandiwe just talked about our work with Voice of Africa's Future, which is actually financed. It's with African Monitor Group, but it's financed by DFID out of the UK. Anybody have any questions? Anybody, just put up your name, your hand, your little hand, and then hopefully I can see your little hand, and then I can let you ask any question you may want to ask. No hands? Okay, let's continue. All right, thank you everybody for your contribution. This is why I like these things, because then you get to contribute. I'm sorry the benefits are not in order, but that's okay. But some of the benefits here, we've talked about them really a lot. And so I would just want to highlight experience in running an organization, that one of the real benefits of becoming a YALDA branch is that you will be a youth-run organization and you get to create your own organization from scratch with the help from us. And you're also able to gain experience, which is difficult, but it's doable with YALDA. And gain in experience in formulating agendas, in running meetings, in enhancing your leadership skills, and just being a part of an organization that requires some level of responsibility. I think this is really, really key, because we know some of you will need to go out there into the real world, in quotation marks, and the experience you get at YALDA is I don't want to say we are tooting our own horn, but it's far above the rest in a lot of ways. And one of the things is because we live by our core values that Jifa had presented earlier of professionalism, excellence, compassion, commitment, integrity, all those things that you need to make yourself a leader and a good person and a productive member of the African society. And those are few and far in between. And last and so important, I would like to just stress on the opportunity to make a difference. When you join YALDA or become a part of this movement or this network, you come together with African students, African youth from all over, here and abroad, and you are able to locate groups with similar complementary interests, skills, and ideas. And then you guys can work together to formulate a collective vision, evaluate needs, join forces with other organizations, and prepare to implement initiatives that you yourself have decided upon. I always say to YALDA members, if you haven't started something, you don't really get what YALDA is about in a way. So that's what is really key, is that you have to be hungry to make a difference. You have to be hungry to be a leader, to start a YALDA branch, and you will see all these benefits that we have talked about accrue to you. So here's a question from Mr. Ayele in Ethiopia. YALDA Ethiopia was asking who is eligible to start a branch or what are the requirements. This is a very good question, and hopefully I will be answering this question in the next few slides that we have, because I think we've got about 36 more minutes of this call. And then I'm also going to ask people to talk a little bit about their experiences and why they decided to start YALDA branches. All right. So, what are required to set up a YALDA branch? Ayala, we're here. It's very simple. The passion to change African to make a difference. This is why I mentioned earlier that there's really no strict requirements. If you're passionate about the movement, if you're passionate about building an organization that is by Africans for Africa, that is not dictated by the Western world, then this organization is for you. And I will read this quote because it's a very powerful quote in our branch action plan. And it says, in life, again, is to answer your question, Ayala, about what is required. And it says, in life, there are 3 types of people. People who talk about things that happen. The second type of people are people who watch things happen. And the third are the very few who are actually in the playing field making things happen. Once you choose the third camp, it is very difficult to sit in the other 2. So the requirement is that you have to be the person in the third camp. You have to be the person who wants to make things happen. And so one of the things is that not only do you as a person choose to talk the talk, but you choose to walk the walk. And you're interested in YALDA to find out how YALDA can help you and others do this. So now I'm just gonna talk through how it is that we have started YALDA branches in the past, and then I'll turn it over to some of you to then give your perspectives on what has worked for you, what has not worked for you, because obviously these are recommended steps for setting up a branch, but they are not the be all and they're not the be all and end all. So the first thing is that there are 5 steps that we recommend, and these are all the 5 steps. But what I'm going to do is go through each step one by one. The first one is get people interested. So you have to find people who are as interested in this organization as you are and who are willing to commit the time to help set up the YALDA and also to help run the branch. And it is not easy, but we give you the tools, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the tools in the next slide to be able to help you start a branch much more easier. Another thing is that it's important that you start with an interim executive board. It might not be your final executive board, but it is your interim executive board. So this board is those group of people who will help you do the things that you need to do, because obviously you need to go to register register in the country as an NGO, and there you need like 5 or 10 signatories depending on the country, or even to register on campus as an organization with your student activities office. And then you also need to hold an on-campus information session meeting so that you can introduce YALDA to the people on continent. I mean, on your campus or in your community. So one of the things we say is that when you advertise YALDA, you say things like, YALDA, an opportunity for youth leaders to make a difference in Africa and collaborate with others. Opportunity to share your African culture with, with other young people on the African continent, etc., etc. And use social media. Social media is very, very powerful. So use social media to get the word out that you're interested in starting this branch, and do it, So another thing that we have recommended people do is have a booth on campus. You can have a simple little table if it's allowed. And as people pass by, their campus activities, fairs, etc. As people pass by, you tell them a little bit about YALDA, what it's about, have them sign up with their emails and their phone numbers. So then afterwards that you can text them for meetings, and then they can come. We find texting is very, very efficient, or adding them to WhatsApp groups as well. You can send announcements. If you have a school radio, for example, you can use the school radio to talk about YALDA. I know they did this in Egypt. You can also use the radio, the school TV if you have one, the school newspaper, other emailing lists of other organizations on campus. Another thing that is really, really cool is that you can have some lecturers be your advocates. And these lecturers, those who teach African studies or who teach economics and development, I mean, these guys, they'll be so excited. And we've seen it with us, how excited they get to, push for YALDA. And they can make announcements at the beginning of class or at the end of class that there's this new organization. If their students are interested to sign up, or to, you can be there in the class, and then have them at the end of class come write their name down. So these are the various ideas of how you get people interested in the organization and where you actually find people. So because this is a very critical one, and actually a very interesting one, because the others are kind of, formalities, I would like to then ask some people how they initially started their YALDA branch. And then we can go through the other more formal things. So please, can we please share? Some of you are just starting YALDA or revitalizing YALDA. I would like you to please share your experience of how you went about forming YALDA at your university or in your country. Please, somebody put up their hand to contribute. Okay, I guess I will nominate Victor.
I'd like to share.
Okay, Felix. Felix will share. Can I ask then, Felix, can you share? Then Victor, can you share? Then I will ask, it will be very heavily male dominated, but then I'll ask Tsepo to also share what we have done in terms of recruitment or getting people interested in YALDA in Botswana. So Felix, please go ahead.
Okay, one of the things we did when we started YALDA Pedwa in our university is we tried to identify what were the main challenges our schoolmates were facing, and we realized that a lot of them want capacity building skills, but they don't have them. So we started with a general conference where we trained them on leadership, and we, after the conference on leadership, and we had a debate, we actually identify a day which best suit the school program. And on that day, we gave ourselves 1 hour each week for meetings. And before each of our meetings, since we knew a lot of people needed capacity building skills, we made up our mind to bring a trainer who is going to train us on the capacity building skills. We used to work on communication skills, time management, how to run the branch. And the more we gave these skills to people, and we actually made them lead by example, because every time, like practically every month, we had a project. And for each project, every member had to be part of a committee. So as a YALDA Pedwa member, you're automatically a committee member and you have a role to play. And the more they did that, the more we accompanied them in realizing their tasks. That is how we gain more members. So the secret we used was identify actually what is the needs of the young people in our university, and realize they needed a lot of capacity building skills. A lot of them wanted to go to the communities, but they didn't know how to get to the communities and help their communities. So we brought that, and today we have over 35 permanent members who are constantly for meetings and participating in our projects. So that is something we use here in YALDA Pedwa. Thank you.
Thank you, Felix, for sharing of your experience in Cameroon. Victor, do you want to share what you are doing in Nigeria? Victor or Chooks, I'm gonna unmute both your mics so you can share. You can both share. Okay, you're unmuted. You can talk. Just introduce yourself and the country you're in.
Hi everyone, my name is Victor Okechukwu, and from Lagos, Nigeria. When Chooks and I started YALDA in Nigeria, we are revitalizing the YALDA branch that existed here in 2012, just after the YALDA conference. We found out like-minded professionals and decided to work with them. We identified them, and from there we moved down to universities. We selected some universities we wanted to work with in the quarter. So when we went to those universities, we focused on university lecturers. So from the university lecturers, we walked down to presidents of student associations. And from there, we went down to university graduates, those that just left that year, those that are about to leave. From there, we formed a coalition of interested people in the development of YALDA. And I would say in a particular university, the economics and development department was very, very supportive. So these are the processes that we went to make sure that we could start the YALDA branch. And at this point, I'd like to give my colleague Chooks to expatiate on anything I may have left out.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
I'm Chooks. Hope everyone can hear me.
Yeah, they can hear you. They're just
good afternoon. Hope everyone can hear me.
They're just muted, but they can hear you.
Okay, Chooks. Okay, thank you very much. I'm delighted to join today's training. Just to add to what Victor had said earlier on, we realized that it is
actually vital for us to include professionals, not just professionals, but young, energetic, and talented professionals in pushing the vision of YALDA Nigeria. So what we did was we've sent out a call for application where the turnout has been impressive. So hopefully, in a couple of days' time, we hope to interview the applicants to see those who fit into our selection criteria, and then bring them on board YALDA. And just to add, one other thing we are critically working on is to ensure that YALDA gets adequate representation across the geopolitical zones of Nigeria. Currently, we have YALDA National Branch set up in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. So we are also looking at expanding our focus to include the 3 other geopolitical zones, just to have an inclusive YALDA administration in Nigeria. So I think that's just a few things I would like to add from what Victor left out.
Thank you both, Chooks and Victor, for sharing. Tepo, can you please again introduce yourself and share with how this is done in Botswana, and also challenges and how we're overcoming them?
Okay, my name is Sept Mohozia. I'm the operations manager here in YALDA Botswana. I think some of the points that have been mentioned before are very important. I think initially we tried to advertise in newspapers. Then we found that the power of social media is so powerful now. I mean, in Botswana, for instance, we are the largest users of Facebook when you look at percentages. Obviously, numbers, our population is low. So we got onto some of the groups where we found a lot of young people. We put an advert in. They came in. Some of the learning points we learned was that we felt the recruitment process to be a little bit more rigorous than previously thought. So the second year around when I worked on it, we actually gave them a test just to see how their general knowledge of Africa is, some of the key issues, and also if they knew much about YALDA after giving them the YALDA branch plan and allowing them to do some research. So it's sort of a learning for the young people that if you're going to join any organization or any industry, you have a knowledge of largest or most important elements of that industry. Something that young Africans have to be very aware of, that employers are not really very interested in you saying, oh, I was an A student and all our lecturers are going to write nice CVs for us and whatnot and whatnot. We really look for skills and people who have actually completed projects that they can actually show some traceability that, listen, I had a project where I built a solar car that drove from Cape Town to Johannesburg. That is a skill that shows us that you can implement. But if you tell me that you've read 2,000 books and the Bible and so forth and so forth, it's not really going to be very useful to organizations, because organizations work on skills and execution. Some of our learning points, as was it Chuck? I think Chuck really hit the mark. I think in certain areas in your branches, I think you have to be slightly careful, because these are the areas where you find that people who are very, very novice or naive cannot be effective. Sales and marketing is not a position for an out-of-school graduate to be able to go to a corporate and make a value proposition to an individual who probably looks at you as not an important thing. There are thousands of NGOs in Africa. So when you look at your sales and marketing people and your events marketing people, make sure you have people who have good networks and people who have actually complete projects. Ask them, show me a package, a document, a product that you actually sold a big company, and what was the return on investment. So for us, that's one thing we've learned. And of course, finally, individuals have to know that this is going to be an investment. So you are investing in it. It's not going to be a return business where we're going to give you everything and you're going to have a holiday when we tell you, oh, go to Ethiopia or go to South Africa or go to Yali. You have to make it very clear from the start that this is a non-profit organization. We do not have funds to let you go 5-star. You got to put in a lot of work. You got to sacrifice even some of your resources, because at the end of the day, whatever you put in now is what you're going to get in the end. Because with the revolution of employment all over the world, right now people are looking for people with skills, not people with PhDs. There are far too many PhDs actually running around and doing too much. So those are some of the learning points we had. I hope as you open your branch, especially the sales and marketing area, be very, very, very severe there. You need to find people who are results oriented. If you give them tickets to sell the tickets. If you've got an event that they have to market, they go and market. So those are the many, and make sure people are really investing their time. There are a lot of people who join an organization and be active participants. So you should just get rid of those type of people. You need people who are active, people who are proactive, people that you don't have to ask, people who are like Laune was saying, people who are coming up with ideas, implementing the ideas, whether they go right or wrong, at least they're learning and moving forward. You don't want somebody sitting back there and waiting for you to tell them, okay, go there, oh, okay, go there, and okay, try that. So in Botswana, we're going to probably perhaps do a bit of an operations review in October. I think all in all, we've learned quite a lot from the young people, and the experience has been quite important for us moving forward.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tepo. So I'm glad that a lot of branches got to share. I also had wanted Ethiopia, Kenya, and maybe Harvard or Oxford to share, but I can't really see what Ayele was saying there, but that's fine. If anybody from Kenya comes online or is online, please let me know. Anyway, let's move on because we only have 16 minutes now. But if you look at the other recommended, the next step of setting up a branch is what we have been talking about here, getting people interested and forming a YALDA executive board. The executive boards differ depending on if you are in the school or you are doing an organization that is a countrywide organization. So we've got a form online that you should fill out. We will send you the branch action plan, which is the PDF version of what you're hearing, kind of, and then also a form that you will need to fill out in order, and we're going to talk about it a little bit again, in order to create a branch. So yeah, and we have all these materials, application forms, etc., that you can fill out. The third thing that is very important, which we also talked about, is registering your branch at your university. This allows you access to resources and all sorts of things that you won't get if you're not registered. And again, we give you the YALDA constitution that you can edit, but not change completely, that you can edit so that you have the information that is necessary for you to be a YALDA branch. Now, we strictly say when you register at your university or in your country, you cannot register something with a name that we do not understand. So anything you register has to have the YALDA name. So you can say YALDA Harvard, YALDA University of Nairobi, or Harvard YALDA, YALDA Nigeria, Botswana YALDA, whatever it is. Anything you say, it has to have the name of the university, the name of the country, and a YALDA. I mean, if somebody is going to be registering Africa Youth Club or something, that is not YALDA. We don't know what it is, and we cannot accept that as YALDA. So everything has to have YALDA in it. Again, when you're forming your branch, you have to, again, review the constitution, make any changes that you deem necessary, and then email your revised constitutions to yaldafrica@gmail.com. We also ask you to please identify a minimum of 2 faculty advisors or patrons or more to help you navigate the university or the country bureaucracy, and to also give you advice on running your branch. Now, once that is all done, you are ready to then submit what we call the branch application form. So in this video, there is a link to the branch application form. I'm not going to go on there in the interest of time, but you can go on there and you will see, and then you can apply to be a YALDA branch. The reason why we ask people to apply is so that we can keep an idea of who is a YALDA branch, because the other time I just saw online on Facebook YALDA Malawi. I'm like, who are YALDA Malawi? We've never even heard of them. But they, I guess, got in touch with somebody, or they had the branch action plan, and they set up a YALDA Malawi. And they never ever communicated with YALDA headquarters. So we want to avoid those strange situations, and we want to make sure that the teams you're setting up as well are foolproof. Then once you have registered, you have applied to be a branch, and then we interview you and accept you, then you are welcome to register on the YALDA website. Now, the exciting news is that the YALDA website is being revamped. If you go on our website page right now, you will not find anything. We are totally revamping it, making it modern, and it's very, very exciting. So you will be seeing a new website. So I'm not going to go into detail about how you get on the website or how you register, because all that information is in the branch action plan. So once now you're done, you're registered, you've got your board, you've got your team, now you need to attract members. At YALDA, I always say to people that you have to have two types of members. You have to have the members that work, and then you have to have those members that are just your members, that come to your events and that you cultivate, that you help grow. Yes, they might not be contributing, but they are as important as your members that are working. So, because we are there to inspire and contribute to everybody who's a young person who wants to be, to grow themselves. So just because they can't contribute and work as a committee member, but they can still add value as a member, because they can also give you ideas when they come to events or meetings, etc. So again, we've talked about ways to attract, get people interested. These are the same ways that you get people, that you attract new members. You can host an exciting, fun launch event on your university campus. If you've got stars that in your country that you are close to, then you are able to go to the, to get the stars involved as well, and make it that exciting, and again, having not only having events, but even famous speakers can actually even help you to get more members to come and be part of the activities. And I'll also have sign-in sheets at the event so that you can register people as they come, so that you can communicate with them later, have a WhatsApp group, you name it. So all of these things that I've talked about before, and that some of you talked about in your experiences. And guess what? You have a YALDA branch. So in the branch action plan, you'll find on pages 22 and page 23 of the branch. Okay. No, I have to mute somebody who's making a little bit of noise. But you will find on page 22 and page 23 of the branch action plan, you will find how to adopt the YALDA constitutions and things that you need to think about. And you'll also find the branch setup checklist. The branch setup checklist is basically step by step. It's 16 steps, step by step, of exactly what I've been talking about right now to help you with your branch formation process. And I'm not going to go through that because you can read it for yourself. Again, YALDA, we will support you along the way, or the branch that you are helping set up, you are going to be the one supporting that branch that you're helping set up if you are setting up a branch. and you help with advice, with tips, with support, assistance, guidance. And at YALDA, like we said in the branch action plan, you get marketing materials. We have produced everything. There's the logos, there's the video that you just watched. These kind of PowerPoints are there. And now really the whole branch action plan is nearly in PowerPoint because of these trainings. There's clothing designs. We've got t-shirt designs, caps, you name it, flyers, posters, business card templates. So there's so many things that we have provided for you that enable you to start a branch in a very simple and easy way. We give you a branch formation checklist that I talked about. We give you tips on forming an executive board easily, and we are easily accessible if you have questions. So please ask questions. Now we get to, if you will please allow me to have an extra 5 or 10 minutes, but hopefully we will finish on time and we won't need that. But I just want to go over this section, and it might take me 10 minutes because it's so important. And it's about overcoming startup challenges. And I'll read this quote from Michael Jordan because it is important to know that in life, everything has a challenge. And if you go around thinking everything is going to be easy, then you don't understand life at all. And Michael Jordan says it like this: obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't run around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. So we say to you, obstacles will come your way. Challenges will come your way. Whether you're starting a branch, whether you're running a branch, in every single form, you will have challenges and obstacles. The point is not whether obstacles or challenges will come your way. The point is, are you going to be able to overcome them? And we've identified a couple of obstacles that you could face. And again, if you have other obstacles, please feel free to email us or put them in the chat box here. The first obstacle is your university or student culture. So one of the things, engaging university students or youth culture, we can just say university student culture or youth culture, is that people these days come to check things out and then they don't stay committed long enough to do the work. So this is what Felix said in the beginning, and he said he went out and they tried to understand what interests them in the universities, in the students in the university. What are their needs? And so they tailored their YALDA advertising or their YALDA branch and what it was going to do to the needs that they had identified in Cameroon at their university of what would interest these students. And it is important as you do that to always be distinguishing YALDA from other societies and student organizations on campus, because we are only for Africa. We're not all over the world. We are not. And that is really critical. And we always say we are run by young Africans. And we must stress this because this gives young people something to be proud of, right? Because it's their organization. It's our organization. All of us here on this call or listening on YouTube, this is our organization. And we should be proud of it. And we should make sure that it continues to grow. And we should show the world. They can bring in all their organizations, etc., but we can make our organizations great as well and of international standards. So this we found, when we tell young people this, then they get very excited about that because it really makes YALDA unique to these young people, and they really own it. And all of you here are here because you own the mission and the vision. And make sure that people understand this is a serious enterprise. And so the next challenge is funding. I don't know how to talk about funding, but yeah, funding is an issue. And some of you at your universities, you do get funding from the university, but some of you also, you've got events that you're running to raise funds, etc. but it is something that you have to keep in mind, because setup stages, you will incur costs for printing, copying, food, the launch event. So see if your school administration or who can give you funds to assist you with the initial setup. So because YALDA, we unfortunately do not give initial setup funding. But we are in the process of, in the end you'll see, but we are in the process of having various competitions for branches where we will be able at least to distribute funds here to some of the best branches. And again, do not overlook your family, friends, and faculty, as they might be willing to give you some sort of financial assistance. And we talked about this in the last training, as you know. And GIFA will be running a training in December, because a lot of you were very interested in how do we really overcome this funding challenge. We need more on how to do effective fundraising. We really need training on this. And so we're very excited that we are going to be doing this training in December. It's only going to be on funding and fundraising. The other problem that you will face is long-term commitment. So I always say this to people, that everything great is difficult to start. So Tsepa was saying that, to found organizations and to have them run successfully requires big sacrifices in the beginning from leaders and the visionaries. And you have to understand that you need the stamina. You need sustained dedication and firm commitment to stick to an organization until it succeeds. I mean, you see some of us, Jifas, the Bukamus, I don't know, the who else's, the Jordans. There are several people who have been in YALDA since the beginning. And there's some people who come and they go. Like there's Imelda from Zambia who recently joined us again. But some of us, we know the commitment to see it continue doing the great work it's doing. And it's small baby steps, but we know that eventually it will reach the level that we want it to reach. But we're not going to be complacent, because we know even if you reach a certain level, you have to continue to aim higher. So it is not easy, but it's the only way to do anything truly important is through long-term commitment. And they always say, that the giraffe principle is very important when we're doing this, is that the giraffe that stretches a little higher will get the bananas. I don't know who wrote that quote, but clearly they were not in Africa, because I don't know. Anyway, maybe in Uganda there are giraffes that eat bananas. But in Botswana, I know they eat leaves. So that was, for me, that's a strange quote. But anyway, and when you find those committed people, you need to reward them. And again, we said this in one of our last trainings. But committed people need to be rewarded so that they can really, continue to see the benefits of what they're doing and not give up. And make sure that all of your team members actively demonstrate their commitment. If some members are not contributing productively and positively to the team at every meeting, look for new members who will. You can't have people sticking around who are dragging others down. They are not attending meetings, and they said that they're going to be contributing and they're not. You just need to let them go and find those who will. Again, another obstacle you may face is meetings. So you have to meet every week, if not several times a week, to make sure that things get started and go well. And if meetings seem boring or inefficient, try and rotating chairpersons, try and make them more exciting, have icebreakers, include some food, bring in one of your lecturers to come and help you, or a professional speaker. But long meetings at the beginning of an organization are not necessarily bad, but just find ways to keep them exciting. Play games during the meetings, so that it's exciting for you. So please, I'm going to now please ask for 5 to 10 more minutes of your time. I know this is a little bit going longer, but I just need a little bit more time so I can finish our PowerPoint presentation. And then there's another thing where some people will say, well, YALDA was started at Harvard. That means that, you know, it's a foreign organization like all the rest. That is not true. Yes, it was started at Harvard, but it was started and run by African students running at Harvard. And I'm one of the co-founders. Jifa, who just spoke to you right now, she's from Ghana. She's Ghanaian originally. She's also American. But this is very important for you to continue to let people know that this is 100% African organization, and we're proud. And then conflicts and heated discussions will be inevitable. So don't be afraid to raise issues, and make sure that you discuss important issues for the sake of making the best possible decisions. So it's very, very important. So we suggest that you contact the YALDA headquarters immediately and other branches when you encounter problems you feel you cannot overcome. We will offer you suggestions on what to do anytime. We're here for you anytime. And we're here for each other as well. That's why even when the emails are sent, it's sent in a group email so that people can email each other. And there's also the WhatsApp group. But most importantly, do not give up. There's much to be done in Africa, and we are here for you. And I'm just going to read this directly from the branch action plan, because I think it's a very powerful statement. And it says, it takes really strong, courageous people to stick with a vision in times of trouble. The most successful people in life have also faced some of the most tremendous challenges that you and I could never possibly imagine. Challenges not only make us stronger, but also help build our characters. Africa desperately needs these kinds of people. When you are faced with obstacles and challenges, we encourage you to contact the YALDA headquarters or other branches for comments and suggestions, as I said. When you are faced with a crisis, this is in your personal life or when you're doing YALDA work or when you're at your real work, whatever it is that you're doing. When you are faced with a crisis situation, do not let it overcome you. Rise up to it, regroup, discuss, seek help, re-strategize, make a plan, and try again. Neither plan A nor plan B will work, but the mistakes and knowledge we gain are what creates the ultimate plan that eventually succeeds. I really love that because it motivates me. Every time I read it, it motivates me, especially when I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. So we are done, ladies and gentlemen. But before we go, I would like to make some important announcements. Maybe Jifa, are you there? So I can stop talking. I know I never said this to Jifa. Jifa, are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Do you have you seen the announcements? Do you wanna go through them for the people?
Hold on, let me see if I can see them.
I don't wanna. Who is this now? Some important announcement.
1 second. Let me pull up my copy. Is in the slideshow?
Yes.
Okay.
The last slide. They're not there. That's fine. I can go ahead.
Oh wait. Okay. Let's see. I think I see them.
Great. Should I click forward?
Okay. Here we go. Yes.
Great.
Okay. So, first is to congratulate Thais Montero on launching her book in Brazil this week. So she launched a book. What is the book on? Do you know?
She just left the call. So Thais works with
okay.
She's my PA, so I'm so proud of her. And there's the book. It says something sucesso, which I feel means success in Portuguese. I don't know.
All right. And then the second announcement is there will be the first YALDA branches competition where your branch could win up to 1,000 to implement a training that you come up with. And to apply, the closing date for applications is Saturday, the 30th of September, so next Saturday. And submit your quarterly report so you're not disqualified. So they apply through the quarterly report, correct?
No, they have a link.
That's separate. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that should be provided, or should have been provided, the link to you. Then also make sure to follow YALDA on Facebook, and the link for that is in the presentation. So, and if you go to Facebook, you can also just search for YALDA and it will come up. And then also you follow us on Twitter. And it's important for you to stay active on our social media by posting comments on a weekly basis. And we'll also be having a social media competition. So please check out our Facebook page and Twitter and make sure to be active on that.
Well, thank you, Jifa. And the last announcement is what I always say at the end of every training is that your branch reports are due. You know that they were due yesterday. We've got a new link, which is this one here, and you're gonna be sent a new link. So you must please submit your branch reports by Saturday, the 30th of September. And any articles, attachments, etc., you must email them to yaldafrica@gmail.com. We really need you to submit your reports so that we know what is going on, where you need help, and so we can share your success stories, because that's what we need these for. So unfortunately, I know sometimes we go around and say what did people get out of this training, but we don't have time to do that because we are over by 10 minutes, and I never like to finish late. But Jifa and I will give closing remarks to say thank you. I will go first and say thank you very, very much, everybody, for taking the time yet again to do this training with us. And thank you all for your contributions in making this training yet another successful and very interesting one. We will be uploading this onto our YouTube channel so that you can always go back and review this training. And again, it's directly taken from our branch action plan. So you can go through the branch action plan again and read through it and ask us any questions that you may have. Thank you so much, and we are so grateful for you, and so are African young people. And Jifa?
Yes, and I just want to echo the thanks for your attention. Thank you for being on the call. And I think what you saw through the presentation is that essentially YALDA is what you make of it. So you are all kind of key to YALDA's success. And we appreciate all of your efforts, and we hope that you are interested in expanding YALDA and starting new branches, and that this training will give you guidance on that and help in that process.
All righty. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Bye.
Bye.